We're here because of the Where's the Square competition and its passage from, I guess, an idea into a wonderful competition with brilliant entries and 54 amazing designs that got submitted by 54 amazing design teams, and a whole bunch of events as well. The whole thing actually began on Tuesday, September 23rd, 2008 at the Vancouver Public Library. We had an event down there with Bing Tom, Cornelia Oberlander, and Lance Perelowitz, who helped us to launch the idea by introducing the whole notion of why they thought a public square or a public gathering place in Vancouver, a central grand gathering place, was even an important idea, something that should be on the table. It's a question that we as an organization used to get, and still do get quite a lot. How come Vancouver doesn't have this sort of square I just saw when I was traveling in Europe or Asia or one of the other places that has a beautiful public square in its cities? We thought it was a wonderful opportunity to explore the idea further and to open it up. And part of it really was because we wanted to be a little bit cheeky with the idea. We thought, well, if we kept getting asked the question, where's the square, it certainly made a bit of sense to turn the question around and see where people thought it should go and what it should look like. And so Bing and Cornelia and Lance helped to open up that series of discussions and launched the competition. The purpose of the competition was really, it was a bit of an advocacy exercise. It was to explore some ideas. It was really to push the notion of why gathering spaces and why public space is important in the city, why good cities have good public spaces and good public squares. We had, as I said, several dozen entries, over 50 in total. Most of them were from the Lower Mainland. Some were from the States. We even had a team from Spain and one from Dublin submit as well. So it was truly an international competition. And it was, I say truly, I mean, Dublin and Spain, they're not lightweights on the design scene. It was fascinating though to see all of the entries roll in. And so it was a true blessing. At the same time as we had these events, we had a number of events throughout the city that were designed to trigger thinking about this, and we had a whole bunch of speakers, Councillor Andrea Reimer, Heather Deal, Trevor Barnes, a whole bunch of folks dealing with various types of expertise related to the public realm. They came out as well and helped to help to encourage us to think differently about the types of public space and the type of roles that it plays. So that was good. We had a great time running this competition. We are now at the point though where we have to award some prizes to the winner. And you will remember in fact that we had two prizes we were going to award, which we will get to shortly. We have a jury selection and we have a People's Choice Award. And we thought when we were running these things that it would be important to have a prize for each. Now having said that, of course, we are a fledgling non-profit with a budget of usually whatever is in our collective wallets. And so it was a matter of trying to think of something that would actually work as a prize, but also something that really would pay homage to the various ideas and to that notion of gathering. I say this as a bit of a preamble because surely we could have gathered together $10 or $15 or $25,000. At one point we actually thought we could. I mean, it's youth. But it was also really because we didn't want this to be a conventional design competition. We wanted actually to figure out how to activate this notion of public space and the public square, this grand plaza. And so what we committed to right at the beginning was this idea that we would take one of the winning designs, and there's this term that Fred Kent and his gang and Project for Public Spaces in New York talk about. They use this term planting petunias. And the idea behind planting petunias is that you do little things in the space that you want to change to give people an idea that the space could be something different, to sort of convey that notion of transformation. It could be quite literally planting some flowers or marking the space in some way. But whatever it is, it's a form of animation or a form of activation. And so we have committed, and we're making this commitment again tonight, to revisit this notion of animating one of the designs. Now, we are going to reserve the right to figure out which one is the most animatable by a non-profit, volunteer-driven organization. But I guarantee you, we will have fun doing it, and you'll all be there because you want to find out how it happens. And of course, in the spirit of collaboration, we also invite you all to join us. And I'll talk about that at the end of the evening when we talk about the next steps. So that is one type of prize. The other type of prize that we thought about was just something simple that really, I guess, paid attention to the spirit of gathering. And we were searching around for ideas what this might mean. Maybe it was a beautiful brass trophy, something like that. Maybe it was a certificate, but none of those things really did it. And then one day I was walking around Robson Square at the south end of the art gallery, and I happened to bump into a fellow named Cyril Derrick. And Cyril is a carver. He's from the Gitxsan Nation, which is up near the Hazeltons, a fair bit north. But he left there a long time ago, and he went on a fairly long travel down to San Francisco when he was a young kid. He was living on the street, and he met this paraplegic carver. And the paraplegic carver began to teach him a little bit about his heritage and about the whole importance of carving. And so Cyril started to take up the carving knife and learn some of the traditions. Now I said he's Gitxsan, but in fact he's traveled all up and down the West Coast, and wherever he's gone he's picked up a bit of the traditions of the local carving. And so I think in the best sense of the word, Cyril is actually a truly West Coast carver. He embodies all of that in his work, and he carves right every day, pretty much, in a public space at the south end of the art gallery. And so for the event this evening, we wanted to present a couple of awards, and these are the awards that Cyril carved for us. There is a main jury prize, and then there is also a People's Choice Award. Both of these awards, I just want to tell you a little bit about them. Both of these awards were carved because I had a nice conversation with Cyril where we talked about that idea of gathering, about people coming together, and he said, nothing actually exemplifies that better than salmon and the relationship between salmon and the natural world, whether it's the eagle, whether it's the wolf. These two elements really define gathering. And he said, squares are nice, but in our tradition we work with circles. And in that sort of West Coast sensibility that Kamala Todd talked about at our last event, she also said, pay attention to circles. And frankly, at the end of the day, public squares are just public squares, quote unquote. Very few of them are ever actually squares anyways. So we have two awards here that we're going to give out this evening, and these are what they look like. So we'll be presenting those in one moment. To move along, it's about time we talk about the jury selection. So our jury, and I think there's a few of the members here this evening, our jury was comprised of 6 experts, and maybe very briefly I could ask them to stand up. We have Lance Borelowitz. Lance? Jane Durante? Where did Jane go? Jane? Bill Petcher? Michael Vaughn? I don't think Mike was here this evening. Derek Von Essen? And Joseph Wask. Derek at the back there. So Lance Borelowitz is a town planner with Urban Forum Associates, and you will of course remember him from some very revealing information he gave us at our presentation back in September. Maybe he'll tell us again, maybe not. But it was a wonderful presentation that he gave us about his experiences of public squares and public spaces. Jane Durante is a principal and a landscape architect with Durante Croy. Bill Peckett, an architect and designer with Peckett and Robb. Michael Vaughn is the policy director of the BC Civil Liberties Association. Derek Von Essen is a photographer, and if anyone has seen the very recently released Verse Map of Vancouver, it is a stunning work, a phenomenal work. It is a collaboration between the former poet laureate George McWhirter and Derek. Derek took all of the pictures for it. A fascinating study in Vancouver's narrative history. Joseph Wask, our final juror, is the director of interdisciplinary studies at SFU. We wanted to assemble quite a good team, a varied team. As you can see, we covered different elements of design and architecture and landscape design, but we also covered the social aspect of spaces, the artistic aspect of spaces, and Joseph helped us to cover pretty much every other aspect because he's interdisciplinary studies, and we figured that was a good catch-all for anything we may have missed. We had a jury meeting. It was a fascinating conversation. It took a full afternoon. The jury went through all of the entries. All 54 entries, not just the ones that were shortlisted through our People's Choice process. And they had a chance to review them all. The process was an engaging one, sort of as a facilitator from the outside. Truly a wonder to listen to, and a true pleasure. So what I'd like to do now is invite Lance to the stage. Lance is going to give us a bit of a sense of what the jury deliberated over and some of their thoughts.